Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with Karen again. My staff and I look forward to your wisdom and your beautiful light and your yellow. So, Karen, we're talking about change,
Yeah.
like what we know now that we wished we knew then, or that aha moment. So, I just can't wait to hear yours.
Well, I thought about it and immediately it came to me what to share because actually I've done this. I've interviewed other people about, you know, going through the change and fear and what's on the other side of that fear, right? So for me, it was 5 years ago, March 5 years ago. My husband and I had been sensing that it was a time for us to move. We didn't have any idea where and when. So the previous November, I sat in after meditation and I said to my angels, I said, we love this house, but we're both feeling it's time to move. And it was prior election. I kept getting, you need to sell before the election. This was in 2021.
Okay.
And I surrendered it up and I said to the angels, send somebody to our door because we're having a hard time letting go of the house. Send someone to us. So I went out and told my husband what I did, and he's like, okay. and a typical Karen surrender. And so let it go, right? We went end of February in 2020. We went to see my dad in Florida, spent some time. We decided, let's make a wish list of what we would like. We don't have a plan yet, but let's make a wish list. What would be our next wish for living in a home? So came back, surrendered that, let it go in February. And we got a letter in our mailbox from a realtor saying, a family is looking for a house in your neighborhood. Would you be willing to sell? And I just looked at my husband and I said, no matter if this is a marketing scheme or anything, we
Right.
need to follow it. I asked, we need to, and that's one piece of you get a breadcrumb, you got to follow it, even though you don't know where it's going to go, right?
Right. You have to take that
Especially,
action. Yes.
yes,
Perfect.
especially when you're in the unknown, right?
Right.
So I called up the realtor, we sat with her, we ended up crying at our kitchen table. We had no idea how much our house was worth. And we both looked at each other, contemplated it, and said, let's put this in motion. So she told us what we had to do. And then we thought, where do we want to live? And we knew that my husband really wanted he wanted condo. He didn't want the maintenance, right?
Right.
A townhouse condo. And I said, I really like the loft artsy living in Providence. We'd be near Providence. Maybe we could walk. So we started doing everything we needed to do with the house. And we started looking at these lofts. And we looked at three of them. We're like, nope, I didn't have any outdoor space. I didn't have walking. I'm like, nope, that's not the thing. And then my husband said to me, he said, don't look at where this is, but I found this townhouse. It's kind of on the water. And I was like, all right, I'll look at it. And I did not particularly like where the location was, but it was on the water. So maybe that would help. And so we went. And now at this point, the pandemic's set in.
Okay.
We put our house on the market the weekend that we put it for open houses all weekend, everything shut down. So she had to tell us that we needed to have one person at a time come through.
Okay.
And then we went to look at this other townhouse. We had to garb up and all this stuff. We ended up moving really quickly through the townhouse. But both of us were like, I think that we can do this. And it was like, we might be able to go mortgage free. So that was an incentive, right? To be free of that at our
Right.
age
Right.
because we were downsizing, because of where the location was. So we ended up putting an offer. Now, one person at a time through our house. They accepted our offer for the townhouse, but it was contingent on us selling our house, right? So, in the midst of all this, I'm out for a walk. My husband calls me, says, I think you need to come home. And he's in a panic. And I'm like, what's wrong? I'm not feeling well. I said, is this not feeling well like run home or call an ambulance? He's like, I think you should call an ambulance.
Oh no.
So I still get,
Choked up. How can
yeah.
you not?
So I'm running home calling an ambulance. Luckily, I was not far. He's in the midst of having a heart attack. And now, mind you, this is when
COVID.
COVID, they came, the police, the firemen, all garbed up. Um, I could not go in the ambulance with him. He left, and I had no idea if I was going to see him again.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
And
sorry.
so, anyways, he ended up having a heart attack. He had a stent put in. He was in the hospital. And then they thought they had put him in a room with somebody with COVID. Now, you know what it was like during that time.
Yeah.
So one of the nurses went in and took his temperature and he had a temperature and he's like, he knew he didn't have a temperature, but they moved him to another isolated room. They thought had COVID. They ran a test, right? We sat and wait. Total fear, right? I remember calling everyone and asking for prayers, right? First thing I did. So that is one thing that I'm going to see different things and we can talk about it. I called up prayer. I remember my main guide is the Blessed Mother. I remember we were in the unknown. Did he have COVID? What was going to happen? I remember that night praying to the Blessed Mother, and I just had a very spiritual experience. I feel like she was involved in healing for both of us. I knew he was going to be okay, but it's hard when,
Yes.
spiritually he's going to be okay, but the humanness of you.
No, it's just the profound fear though. It's uh,
So
and it was collective fear too. And you're
it
so
was.
intuitive that you're feeling your own fear and the whole world's fear. Oh, honey.
And then, my daughter had said she was very terrified during all of this. And she had said to me, Mom, I'm not going to be able to come to you. I don't want to be around you. She was so afraid I was going to get sick, right? And, and, you know, the minute Louis had the heart attack and I called the kids, my son came running with his girlfriend. My daughter got in the car. Because I had told her, honey, I just knew I was not going to get sick. I said, love, you have to think about love is more important than fear right now. This was a conversation prior to this. And love got her in the car. She came, she stayed with me the whole week. I mean, in the fear, there was so much love too, right? That was showing up. Love from the divine, love from friends and
Strangers
family
taking care
praying.
of your husband that you couldn't be with.
Yeah, love from my
Yeah.
children. And, I remember we, it was time to pick him up from the hospital, and we didn't know if he had COVID or not. And on the way, I'm praying, praying, like I need to hug him. And I was going to have to put him in the back seat and just all that fear stuff, right? And I remember he called me and it was 11:11. Again, another sign, 11:11. He's like, I don't know. We'll just have to go with this. And by the time I got to the hospital, a nurse, he had already left, came down in the wheelchair. A nurse came running after him with the results of the COVID test to tell him he was negative. So I could hug him, I could be with him. It was just grace kept walking us through
Yeah.
this, right?
Yes.
So, of course, then he's in recovery and we're having people one at a time come through our house. It was so stressful. The realtors was so stressful. Well, we went to the condo that we had purchased. We had to do the inspection. Karen leaves. I haven't had a panic attack other than one time at the dentist since my 20s. And I left there and I was in a full-blown panic attack. I was crying. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's too drastic. And I know now my soul was brought on the panic attack because it was not right, right? It
Right,
was not
right,
right.
right,
So we had a deposit down, and I said to my husband, I was worried about disappointing him, but I knew in my heart and soul there was no way I could say yes to this. So we pulled out. We were still selling our house. We had nowhere else to go. And here's another, here's another teaching. Both of us sat and we just surrendered. We knew beyond any doubt it was time to sell our house, but we had no idea where we were going to go and live. But I said, we need to surrender this. If we have to rent, we'll rent.
right.
Whatever, we're going to find a way, but we cannot force and push this. It is not, I can't, home is sacred to me and I can't.
I I know. Like,
So we completely surrendered, right? We completely surrendered. And then all of a sudden, the realtor that had helped us with the loft lifting came back around and said, I have an idea. I know you're not looking at property, homes, and that kind of stuff, but I have a feeling I know what you want now. And I want you to just go see these two properties. And I said, okay, we got to stay open. Let's go. First one, I didn't even get out of the car. I'm like, no way. The second one, I'm like, we're driving down this little kind of private road, and the mailboxes of all the, people living there were all together. I'm like, I feel like we're in New Hampshire. This was in Rhode Island. And we get to the house, and we couldn't get in the house, but we could see the outside of the house. It was on a dead end, had a pond. Three-quarters of the property were around water. I just looked at my husband and I said, "Oh my God,
that's it.
it is the inside as beautiful as the outside." And it was a small, manageable lot. So we came back the next day. We went inside. I was like jumping out of my skin. But my husband already told me, don't get excited in front of the realtor. We still got to
Game
negotiate
face. Put your
price.
game
Right.
face on.
So fast forward, we ended up selling our house on Easter morning to a beautiful family, purchased this house, and went through, everybody knows what a move is like, right?
Yeah.
Went through purging, letting go, moving. And in the midst of this whole thing, on top of this, my mother is dying.
Talk
And she
about
is in and out of the hospital. So I'm trying to support my parents, but I'm in the midst of, it's the middle of the pandemic. She's alone sometimes. She's sent home alone. We move in June 2nd and she passes June 23rd. So I was actually relieved when my mother passed, but my mother was my greatest teacher and my greatest thorn, right? And um, that was it. I knew after all of this, and I'm going to really make this point, that I could not help anyone else but myself. And I said to myself, I need to rest, heal, center, and take care of myself all summer long. So I would not overload my schedule. I would say no when I needed to say no. I would be
Karen,
in
did you
nature.
do that before, or was it just this whole situation gave you that strength to say no?
Okay, well, the universe had set up that it was the pandemic and everything was shut down and
Right.
slowed down and stopped. But it was also about not rushing to unpack, not rushing to make everything perfect. It was about you need to stop and take care of yourself. So it was a lot of no's.
I love that because this is just the thread that's going through all these conversations about giving giving us permission to say no.
Yeah.
And it is probably the anti you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's gotten better.
Yeah,
My
I think the no comes with age, but I wish we could give that wisdom to, our younger sisterhood that it's okay to say no.
yeah.
It really is. And you know what? I love how you're so open and sharing and vulnerable and thoughtful because there's the other theme of when you ask for help and you have to look for the helpers.
Yeah, it's so first of all, it's okay to be afraid because to
Yes.
deny your fear is not gonna, more and more I've discovered that surrendering to this is how I feel, but not getting stuck in it, right? We can get
Right.
stuck in it. So we have we're all giving these big spiritual toolboxes of this is all about a spiritual toolbox of giving ways to get through and to thrive in the midst and survive, right? And so, first of all, surrender was essential during all this, even though when you don't, you're in the unknown. We were on the unknown. Where are we going to live? Our it
Everything was
will
the unknown.
will Louis live?
Right. Everything in your life, there was no known. You
Yeah.
had nothing that was solid.
And to hold on either in fear or trying to figure it out or control it, it only creates more suffering, right? And don't get me wrong, I rode the waves of everything because it was so intense,
It
but
was, it was, it was globally intense, and that was, just think for a minute, Karen, one of those things
right.
that you just rolled off could flatten someone. It just
Yeah.
one. I've been saying during that time, and it just stuck. Am I in love or am I in fear right
Right.
now?
Yeah.
Either one is okay, but I just wanted to know where I am right now.
I mean, right now, because I feel this time is somewhat similar to the pandemic.
Yes. And yes, because I'm feeling it and thinking there's no normal now again.
No, no. And there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And so, I'm right now with a group on my first book, my 40-day journey of what would love do, surrendering fear to experience miracles of love, surrendering fear to love. And I have to tell you, I've taken it 23 times since 2008, but it's so fresh even now. And it's so helpful because we do tend to be in the collective too, we tend to be magnetized in energy towards where the collective is. And there's a lot of fear and uncertainty. And we have to pull in to get back to love, peace, centeredness, surrender, asking
Wholeness.
for help.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, for me, it through all these waves of change, because there'll continue to be waves of change and trials and joys and tribulations, but through all the waves, to me, surrender, right? Asking for help from the divine, from earthly colleagues, friends, family, um, going within and finding your own reflection of peace and finding the reflection, what's being reflected in your outer world
Right.
that's activating your inner
Yes.
trauma or drama, right?
Yes. And what you said too is like that's like the combination lock. And then be okay. Just be okay saying no. Be okay. Like right now I'm having a lot of fear. Like I had that yesterday, after everything, I was like, I am just having fear. Like, and then I'm like, is this mine or is this everyone I talk to today's fear? Like, it's like just being curious and being loving and compassion and also being like, okay, it's going to be okay. It's going
Yes.
to be all right.
And just taking care of self. I mean, it's not selfish, it is essential. Taking care of self. And that's what I did that whole summer as I just took care of self. And, I have to say, that was, and we can always look back and we can see that that transformation, that challenge shifted me from the inside out. And if you take it to enlighten, heal, awaken yourself, then it can be an opportunity and a gift that flows. So now I have to say, I've never been more balanced in my life. And that is, I just wrote about it the other day. And I think it's because of self-care,
Yeah.
the no's, what balance we think if we there we all we have I always say we have it backwards, right? But balance is how I can serve even more,
Right. Right.
how I can support even more. But it really brought me back to myself.
I love everything you said.
And what's important, right? What is
Right.
important? What is important? My family is important. Love is important. Peace is important. Balance is important. Giving it to support others in the learning and the growth. I mean, what is important? We have to come back to what really matters, right?
Right. I love that. I so appreciate you, Karen. I really do. And and I don't know if it's my age, but it's also like all of this is happening. But then I'm like, how's your contentment? I'm like so happy within my little space. And it's almost like so strange because you have all these things happening, all these wobbles. But then I'm like, oh, hi, day. Like it's
Yeah.
all good. It's all good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So it's a strange place to be in between, right? In between all this chaos and uncertainty and trauma and fear and hate and intolerance to this self of, wow, okay, yep, this is who I am right now, and I like my space. I like where I am, and it's
Yeah.
it's a journey, man.
We just came off our facilitating our retreat, Time to Shine. And I really believe if we can find our own inner connection, peace, surrender, love, then that's really all we need to do. And that's the most powerful we can do is show up as that in the world, right? So for me, I fill my cup every morning. I don't take clients. I graced 11:30, but I usually don't start my workday till 1. And I go for my walk and I share my light and my connection with others, whoever I'm meant to connect with. And then I continue to do that, supporting clients and community. And I feel like that's what I can do, right? That's who I am. Like I've just never been a political person. So to try and force that, because I did, I'm like, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be doing? And I'm like, but I have to do me and do what brings the most joy, happiness, light,
And
and
love.
energy. Yeah, and love
Yeah.
to others.
Yeah. Well, I think too, and before we go, because we're coming up, I think it's what you just said. We forget our energy body and system goes like 20 miles away from us. So that even when you're on your walk, or even if you're in your joy in your house, and every morning we talked about this, I have my warm up my milk and have my hot coffee, and I'm like, ooh, look at me, right? But like that just is joy and contentment and
Yeah,
happiness. And I think we forget how much we're interconnected.
yeah.
So
We
this
are.
this happiness in my house is like beaming out into the world. So like we think, oh, we have to be doing. We are doing. We're
Yeah,
just doing by just being present.
yeah. Doing by being, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you, Keith. I love it. I love you. And you're such
Thank
a
you.
beamy light. And you're even with everything that life throws at you, you're just use that light for goodness forever. Like you're so amazing.
I tried.
I
It's
appreciate you.
it's a daily practice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything everybody can find you is going to be linked under this video. But
Okay.
if there's anything that you want to share, I would love for you to mention that book, your book again.
Oh, what would love do? A 40-day journey to transform fears into miracles of love. And then I have, my Awaken My True Self community. I'll send you the link for that.
Perfect.
We join like twice a month. It's $24 a month, and it's got a
Wow.
portal of resources and classes and guest speakers. There's so much, and we really need community right now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll send you that and check it out. There you can go to the link and read all about it. If it resonates you, join in. You can try it for a month and see what happens, right?
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much,
All
honey.
right. Blessings, everyone. Thank
Blessing.
you, Kristen. Thank you for doing this.
Bye-bye, honey.